The greatest war a man can endure is one against himself, a war without a battlefield. Yet everywhere he goes he carries it. No enemy is more relentless than his own desires, no weapon cuts deeper than his own thoughts, and no victory is more meaningful than mastering his own mind. Marcus Aurelius understood this well. He would go on to document his battle in a personal journal, better known as Meditations today. In today's essay, we will be summarizing his thoughts and battles, as well as how we can apply these strategies in our own wars. So without further ado, let's begin. Meditations is not a formal philosophy book, but rather a private journal written by Marcus Aurelius during military campaigns around 170 to 180 CE. This book captures Marcus's thoughts and practices for a stoic lifestyle, even when you are surrounded by chaos and noise. Meditations can be broken up into 12 virtues, each filled with wise and thoughtful notes. Virtue 1 focuses on control over your mind. Marcus would constantly remind himself that while he could not control the world, he could always control his own judgment and actions. Marcus would use his thought as a sort of mental crutch, as he believed that all events are reactionary, and if you choose not to be hurt by said event, then you would not be. While he acknowledged this is not literally true, this way of thinking is much healthier than a victim mindset, blaming things outside of your own control for your mental state or actions. Marcus would further elaborate, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. If we master our mind, we will come across strength so potent that you would appear as a god, even to people that once thought of you as an ape or monster. Virtue 2 relates to the idea of accepting your fate, which many Romans have described as amor fati. For Marcus, this means that everything happens according to nature's order, and that to resist events that were deemed fate would only lead to suffering. With this virtue, Marcus Aurelius reminds himself that no matter how harsh life's events could be, he must accept them as if he chose them himself, as he believed that fate is not the enemy, but the pattern of the universe itself. Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together. You must accept struggles and setbacks as simply as a part of life and not personal failures, as resistance will only yield frustration, but acceptance will yield strength. Virtue 3. Live with virtue. Virtue is the highest good above all else, whether it be wealth, pleasure, or reputation. With this thought, Marcus sees philosophy as a daily struggle to embody wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. That your own virtues should not rely on others for them to be good. Marcus followed this with the thought that the noblest kind of retribution is to not become like your enemy. This thought reminds us that if at some point you are stopped from acting according to right reason, you must not be angry, but be content if you do not fall short of justice, self-control, wisdom, and the rest. To live life well, we must act virtuously regardless of circumstances. Virtue 4. Life is short. Time is the one asset which we will never get back. Unlike money or possessions, we will never have more time, and Marcus insists that we must not waste it on distractions, anger, or trivial desires. He reminds himself that every life, no matter how grand, is just a moment in eternity. Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. And even if someone feels as if their life has already been wasted or it's too late to make significant change, Marcus would say, think of yourself as dead. You have lived your life. Now take what's left and live it properly. Being aware of mortality can be freeing, but also terrifying to the man who has little time left. This is why we must remind ourselves that for all we know, we have already died, and the start of a new day is the opportunity to use the rest of our time properly. Virtue 5 also ties into mortality, as Marcus reminds himself not to fear death. Death is a natural part of life. To Marcus, it is nothing more than the dissolution of the body into its elements. To fear it is to misunderstand the order of nature. Marcus writes, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." This can help us remember that death is not an evil, but simply a reminder to live rightfully in the time we are given. That mortality gives us urgency, and delaying virtue is foolish. You must live each moment as if it were your last. Do good and practice virtues every day. Virtue 6. Serve others. As an emperor, Marcus stressed his duty to serve the community, not himself. Humans are social beings. We are born to help one another, as Marcus says, that which is not good for the hive is not good for the bee. Justice and service are essential. Even when people are ungrateful or hostile, our purpose is fulfilled through cooperation and compassion. Virtue 7. Master anger and desire. Marcus reminds himself that anger, lust, and greed are chains that weaken the soul. True strength lies in self-control and rational action. Marcus would go on to say, how much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the cause of it. Marcus must remind himself that one can only practice virtue if you have mastered your mind, and one can only master their mind once they are not a slave to the evil men can cause. No matter what anybody says or does, my task is to be good. And although many men try to cause harm, and we wish to retaliate in return, we must remember that the noblest kind of retribution is not to become like your enemy. Virtue 8. Detaching from external reputation. Fame and reputation are fragile, and the opinions of others should not dictate our lives. Marcus dismisses the desire for approval, reminding himself, consider that as the heaps of sand piled on one another hide the former sands. So in life, the events which go before are soon covered by those which come after. Even once we gain fame and wide approval, all which comes from it will inevitably be buried by the sands of time, ultimately meaningless, and only serves to prove one's vanity. He also explains that nothing is made better by praise. The beauty of doing comes from the action itself, not what people say about it. Marcus would elaborate by saying, when you've done well and another has benefited by it, why like a fool do you look forward for a third thing on top? Credit for the good deed or a favor in return? Virtue 9. Practice humility. Despite Marcus being the ruler of Rome, he often reminded himself how small he is in the grand plan of the cosmos. Pride is foolish when weighed against the vastness of time. Alexander the Great and his mule driver both died, and the same thing happened to both. All human lives, no matter how grand or small, all must come to the same conclusion. Humility may help us guard against this ignorance. Virtue 10. Live in the present. Marcus emphasizes that the importance of grounding oneself in the present moment. The past is gone, and the future is uncertain. Only the present can be lived. You must confine yourself to the present, as Marcus would put it, as no amount of dwelling on the past nor paranoia of the future will ever change the outcome of either. By focusing on the task at hand, we avoid the regret and anxiety and live with clarity. Virtue 11. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus believed that hardship is not a curse, but a chance to practice resilience and virtue. The universe is indifferent to your existence. It will throw obstacles towards you that will shake the foundation which you stand on. We must accept this for what it is. Hardship is part of what being alive is, and we must not pray to the universe that these do not find us. Rather pray that we have the fortitude to deal with them when the time comes. Marcus says, why not rather pray for the gift to fear none of these things, to desire none of them, to sorrow for none of them, rather than any of them should be present or absent. And so the next time when misfortune finds us, we must not grieve for what has happened. Rather, let us remind ourselves that it is fortunate that this has happened and I have remained unharmed by it. Virtue 12. Daily reflection. Marcus reminds all of us that we must waste no more time arguing what a good man should be and just be one. This helps us realize that through all our reflection and learnings of these Stoic principles, it is not enough to just simply read them, but we must bring them to action and allow them to flow through our actions and person daily. We must practice the discipline we so talk about. We can do this by self-reflecting every day, writing down to ourselves notes that correct our flaws so we may learn from them. And although our body may crave comfort and stillness, we must not allow ourselves to succumb to such desires. Even if we miss a day, we must carry on and resist the temptation to surrender. With Marcus Aurelius' teachings now refreshed in our minds, you might be wondering, how can I implement these virtues into my daily life? Well, we can take these 12 virtues one at a time and break them down how we can practice them in our day-to-day. In our ever-changing world, there will always be trying and difficult times we must endure. And although these events may seem all-encompassing, we must remind ourselves that all events outside our direct control should have no bearing on our minds. We need to take time in our day to be aware of how instant our minds may react in anger, jealousy, or frustration. The mind is immensely powerful and can either enslave us or liberate us depending on our mindset. A quote that can help us remind us of this among chaos would be, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." No matter how dire the situation may be, a significant other cheating on you, the loss of a job, or something as simple as your car breaking down, we must find strength in these times through controlling our reactions and thoughts. Something else that ties into this thought would be to accept fate. All these unfortunate events that could and potentially will happen in your lifetime, and we must accept these conditions as if we had chosen them ourselves. As Marcus believed, misfortune was part of being alive. We must not pray that misfortune does not find us, rather that we are strong enough to come out unscathed when they do find us. And lastly, we must remember every day that we mustn't take setbacks as personal failures, but simply what the universe has chosen for us. Virtue is valuable above all else, but trying to live with virtue can quickly become all-encompassing and daunting. To mediate this, we must focus on one virtue we want to execute that day, whether it be justice, wisdom, courage, or self-control. All of these are valuable virtues we must keep in our minds. A day you are feeling impatient, take a moment to reflect on your state and practice temperance. Or perhaps on a day you are faced with a moral choice, make sure to ask, what is the just action? So remember, the next time you see a fellow man in need, the only difference between a hero and a coward is that the hero has the courage to stand up when he's scared. Marcus reminds us that we must not fear death, rather we must use it as motivation. Every morning when you wake up from your sleep, take some time and think, I may not see the end of this day. This should not fill you with fear, rather determination to live this moment as if it were your last. Many of us live life as if we were going to live 1,000 years. All our distractions and feeble squabble, that procrastination you're holding on to, those wasted hours under your covers and on the sofa suddenly seem significant if reflected upon. Marcus would go to say this: at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work. As a human being, what do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for? The things I was brought into the world to do? Or is this what I was created for? To huddle under the blankets and stay warm? When in moments of passion, it is urgent that we catch ourselves. Instead of snapping back in rage in moments of anger, practice silence, as Marcus tells us that how much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it. Whatever anyone does or says, I must be good. Just as if the gold or the emerald or the purple were always saying this. Whatever anyone does or says, I must be emerald and keep my color. What the evil man does only does harm to you if you do harm back. It is crucial that we take this time to reflect and choose our responses to our desires carefully to live virtuously. Same feelings with indulgence. We live in a time where almost everything is at our fingertips. Food, entertainment, meaningless accessories, etc. In times like this, it is important to practice self-restraint every day, as each act of self-control builds inner freedom. On the topic of freedom, Marcus would tell us that pursuing fame is not worth it in the slightest, as the perception of yourself others may have of you is meaningless compared to what you think of yourself. Many famous men will die and be forgotten, and chasing fame will only keep you trapped in a non-stop loop of trying to please everybody. There are no immortal actions, as Marcus says. Consider that as the heaps of sand piled on another hide the former sands. So in life, the events which go before are soon covered by those which come after. Furthermore, this want of fame can impede our need to carry out the virtue of humility, as fame, no matter how great, will fall into oblivion and only demonstrates one's vanity. Humility in helping others in itself is the reward of the action. It is not made better by praise, as Marcus says. Furthermore, humility reminds us of our place in the bigger picture. We merely occupy an insignificant moment in time, and humility helps us remember this. Our time on this earth is only a speck on the timeline of the cosmos. This is why we must remind ourselves to live in a present day. It is crucial we build habits that pull us to now. This could mean putting our phones down while enjoying a meal and really taking in what you're putting into your body and how grateful you are for this meal. Remember to breathe whenever your thoughts begin to drift. Do not sicken yourself with the future all at once, nor drill your mind over what has been. Both pitfalls bring only regret and anxiety into our lives. If we are to face misfortune in the future, then we will face it with the same tools we possess to deal with them now. And when hardship strikes, reframe it. A rude remark or plans failing is practice for patience. A failure is practice for resilience. A loss is practice for acceptance. Every obstacle is material for virtue. The mind adapts and converts to its own purposes the obstacle to our acting. The impediment to action advances action. what stands in the way becomes the way. Above all else, however, make time to reflect upon your day, whether it be at the end of the day, or the start, or maybe even just the middle. Journal your moments today, much like Marcus Aurelius did with his journal, and ask yourself, where did I succeed today, and where did I come short? Writing about your day increases the likelihood that you do stop and think virtuously throughout your day-to-day, as at the end of it, you must come to terms with what you have done. Marcus Aurelius fought his greatest wars not against barbarians at the gates of Rome, but against himself, his passions, fears, and temptations within himself. That's why Meditations resonates within us so deeply. We are all at war with ourselves every day. The question is, how will we be equipped to handle these daily battles? I would like to leave us with a final quote. Concentrate every minute like a Roman, like a man, on doing what's in front of you with precise and genuine seriousness, tenderly, willingly, with justice, and on freeing yourself from all other distractions. Yes, you can if you do everything as if it were the last thing you were going to do in your life, and stop being aimless. Stop letting your emotions overwrite what your mind tells you. Stop being hypocritical, self-centered, irritable. You see how few things you have to do to live a satisfying and reverent life? If you can manage this, that's all even the gods can ask of you. Thank you all so much for watching. Once again, I have been your introduction to Stoicism and philosophy. My name was Aurelius. If you liked today's video, make sure to subscribe for more videos like this. And until next time, remember to always think like a Stoic.